Shalom, this is Levi Shore. Welcome back to Swing Good Torah. So today we're going to learn about what is the mystical power of the shofar that we blow on Rosh HaShanah, and how is the shofar that we blow on Rosh HaShanah, how is that connected with the Shofar Gadol, the Great Shofar in the times of Mashiach? So how is the mitzvah of blowing shofar on Rosh HaShanah, how does that bring us closer to hearing the Great Shofar, the Shofar of Moshiach? So we're going to see something very interesting. There's a midrash, very famous midrash, and it talks about the ram that replaced the sacrifice of Yitzhak, replaced the sacrifice of Isaac at the Akedah. So Hashem commanded Abraham, he commanded Abraham to sacrifice his son Yitzhak, his son Isaac, and then Hashem said, no, I don't want you to sacrifice Isaac, and Hashem gave Abraham a ram, and he says, I want you to sacrifice this ram. So this very famous midrash, it says that the left horn of the ram is what became the shofar that was used at Matan Torah. So at the giving of the Torah at Mount Sinai, the Jewish people heard this shofar blast, and that was the left horn of this ram. And then it says the right horn was even bigger, and this is the shofar of Mashiach. And this is what's going to be called the Shofar Gadol, the great shofar that's going to be blown before the coming of Mashiach. All right, so we have a huge question. So what do these three events have in common? How are they all connected? And we'll take a look at each one individually. So first we're going to take a look at the shofar that was heard at the Matan Torah, the giving of the Torah at Mount Sinai. So we have here a pasuk from Shmos, from the book of Exodus, chapter 19, pasuk verse 19. And it says this, it says, Vayihi kol shofar kolek v'chazak. And it was that the sound of the shofar, it went and it strengthened, it got louder. V'chazak meod, got very, very loud. So it kept going, increasing in strength, increasing in the volume. So then Moshe Yedaber, then Moshe spoke, V'ha Elokim ya'anenu b'kol. And then Hashem answered Moshe in a voice. It says the sound of the shofar grew continually much stronger, and Moshe would speak, and Elokim would respond to him with a voice. So the shofar was the introduction to Moshe speaking with Hashem. So it was the closest, the most intense conversation that any person in the history of the world has ever had with Hashem. And he spoke to Hashem. It says panim al panim, face to face, and it's the clearest communication between a man and this infinite being, Hashem, the great infinite creator. Okay, so then Yalkut Shimoni 1:283, it describes a little bit of what the Matan Torah was like, what it was like when we heard the shofar blast. And it said that Hashem descended upon Har Sinai, upon Mount Sinai, in a burst of flame, in this pillar of flame, surrounded by a host of 22,000 malachim, 22,000 angels. And the earth began to quake, and there was thunder and lightning, and it was miraculous too. The Torah tells us that we could actually, we could see the sound waves of the thunder, and we could hear the light waves of the lightning. So it's like the whole teva, the whole nature, like all the laws of physics became all turned around in a miraculous manner. So then the Mechilta, it says that Bnei Yisrael heard the sound of a shofar becoming continually louder, growing in intensity until it reached the greatest volume which the people could possibly bear. And the fire of Har Sinai, of Mount Sinai, rose up to the very heavens, and the mountain smoked like a furnace. Okay, so that's the first shofar. So that's the left horn of the ram from the Akedah, and that's the shofar that Hashem used to blow at the giving of the Torah. Okay, so what about the great shofar of the future? So let's take a look at how that's described. So that's described in the prophecy, the Nevuah of Yeshaya, of Isaiah. It's Isaiah 27:13, and the pasuk says this. It says, "V'haya b'yomahu," and it will be on that day, Yitaka b'shofar gadol, that he will blow, Hashem will blow the great shofar. Uva'u ha'ovdim be'eretz Ashur v'hanidachim be'eretz Mitzrayim. It will be on that day that a great shofar will be blown, and those who are lost in the land of Assyria and those cast away in the land of Egypt will come together. And then it says, V'chish takavu lahashem bahar hakodesh b'Yerushalayim. And they will bow down to Hashem on the holy mountain in Jerusalem. This is referring to the Har HaBayis, the Temple Mount, where the third temple will be built, where the third base of Mikdash will be built. So Rav Shimon Schwab Tzal, he says in reference to this pasuk, he says it refers to the final Geula. This is the Geula Shlema. This is the ingathering the exiles of the Jewish people to Eretz Yisrael, to the land of Israel, from wherever they are in the world. Okay. So then we say this every day, say it 3 times a day in the Shemona Esrei. In the 8th blessing in the Shemona Esrei, we're praying for the Kibbutz Golios. We're praying for the ingathering the exiles. So every day we say this blessing. We say, Taka b'shofar gadol l'cheru seinu. Blow the great shofar for our freedom. It says, V'sa neitz l'kabel geluyos seinu. And it says, raise up a banner, raise up a flag to gather our exiles. It says, V'kab seinu yachad. And they should be gathered together. Me arba kanfos haaretz, from the 4 corners of the world. And then it says, Baruch atah Hashem, blessed are you Hashem, mikabetz, that you gather, nichei amo Yisrael, who gathers in the dispersed of his people Israel. So Rabbi Shimon Schwab Tzal, can't speak today, he said on the part of that blessing that says, V'kabsenu yachad. What does it mean that he'll gather us together? It's an amazing idea. He says, during the Golus, during the exile, the Jewish people was split, not only physically, not only geographically around the world, but also ideologically. One group does not see eye to eye with the other. So not only is this ingathering of the exiles at the time of Mashiach is going to gather the Jewish people together again from all over the world, but it's going to bring us together again as one people. It's going to be when we stood at Mount Sinai, we were Ish Echad Lev Echad. We were like one man with one heart. And that's going to be, and that condition is going to happen again. And we're going to see that the shofar has this mystical, supernatural power to help do this. So we're going to see why the shofar is so powerful. So Rabbi Chaim Freelander, he wrote in Sifsei Chaim, and he was explaining what is the connection of the Shofar of Matan Torah and the Shofar of Moshiach, the Shofar Gadol, the Great Shofar of the future. So first he quotes the Ramchal, he quotes Rabbi Moshe Chaim Luzzatto in his Sefer Ma'amar HaChachma, and he says the shofar is blown below. When we blow the shofar here, when it's a mitzvah in Rosh HaShanah to blow the shofar, it has this power of its spiritual roots above. And what the shofar does is it has the power to strengthen tov, to strengthen good, and to bind, and to stop, and to conquer evil. So there's a whole process throughout history of why these events are connected. So he goes on to explain. So Rabbi Freelander explains. So after the sin of Adam Arishon, after the sin of Adam, the first man, so what's interesting is, when was Adam created? He was actually created on the 6th day of creation, and that the 6th day of creation was Rosh HaShanah. So Adam Arishon was created on Rosh HaShanah, and what did he do on Rosh HaShanah? He ate from the Eitz Das Tov V'Ra. He ate from the tree of knowledge of good and evil, and then good was now mixed with evil. So before that, evil was external to a person, but now good and evil became mixed inside a person. So now a person had a Yetzer Tov, a good impulse, and a Yetzer Hara, an evil impulse, all mixed inside him. And now evil was strengthened over good. So evil kind of conquered good at this point. But then at the Matan Torah, at the giving of the Torah, now good goes out from evil again, and it's strengthened. So this shofar that we heard at the giving of the Torah, it helps strengthen good over evil. And then what happened is evil was now separated completely again from good. So now evil was outside us again. And now we had cherus, we had freedom from the Yetzer Hara, from the evil impulse, who is this angel who is the Yetzer Hara. So the Yetzer Hara has 3 roles. He's the Yetzer Hara. He tempts people to try to seduce them, to try to get them to do Aveira, Chas v'Shalom, to disregard the Torah, to transgress what the Torah says. Then he acts as the Satan, the heavenly prosecutor. And then finally, if he wins his case in the heavenly courts, he works as the Malach HaMaves, the angel of death. But now, because good was strengthened over evil, now we had freedom from the Yetzer Hara. So what is the power of Torah? So the power of Torah is the ability to strengthen good. So when we learn Torah, when we learn about the mitzvos, when we're inspired to do gemilas chasadim, acts of kindness, we start to strengthen good inside ourselves, and we start to increase the power of the Yetzer Tov. We increase the power of our good impulse, and if we do this enough, then we can become a tzaddik, where we no longer listen to the Yetzer Hara at all. We no longer listen to the evil impulse at all, and we could finally reach a level of tzaddik amor, a complete tzaddik, where once again evil is completely pushed out of us, and now the Yetzer Hara is external to us again. And then when is this process going to be completed? This process is going to be completed in the days of Mashiach, with the great shofar blast, and Mashiach is going to teach the world how to strengthen themselves through the Torah and the mitzvot, so now good will completely conquer evil forever, and then evil, Bela Netzach, evil will be swallowed up, forever, and there will be no evil in the world. Okay, so the first chizuk, the first strength of this power of good over evil was done by the shofar, the Matan Torah. So when the pasuk says Kol Shofar Cholek v'Chazak, that the shofar sound, it was getting louder and louder and louder, and this was demonstrating how good was strengthening itself over evil. So then the tikkun, this final tikkun, is going to be completed in the days of Mashiach, where good will be completely victorious over evil, and this is said in Vayitka b'Shofar Gadol, and then he will blow the great shofar. So we have the mitzvah to blow the shofar on Rosh HaShanah. So what does this do? It's really an incredible idea. So Rabbi Friedlander explains that what's happening is we strengthen the tikkun of good over evil. We strengthen the fix, because there's the fix that had to happen from eating of the tree of knowledge of good and evil. So now we have to eradicate evil again. So the fix began at the giving of the Torah, and this began to prepare us for the future. So then what we want to get to is we want to get to the Me'irim Or Chadash, where Hashem illuminates the new light, the Or of the Torah, where the light of the Torah and the original light, the Or Ein Sof, the infinite light that was hid away, can come back into the world. So we start surrounding ourselves with this light on Rosh HaShanah, and what happens is that this new light is now surrounding all time. So this is incredible. So when we're blowing the Torah on Rosh Hashanah, when we're doing the mitzvah of listening to the the shofar blast on Rosh Hashanah, it now connects us to the past, to the shofar that was blown at Matan Torah. And now we're in the present on Rosh Hashanah listening to the shofar, doing the mitzvah of the shofar in the present, and this connects us to the shofar of the future, of the shofar of Mashiach. So when we do this correctly, we have the power through the mitzvah of the shofar on Rosh Hashanah to connect us to the shofar gadol and bring us in to the geula and begin. And so the shofar gadol is the sign, it's that's heard by all the world, that the geula is beginning. So it starts the process, and it starts the days of the Yemot Mashiach. Okay, Bezrat Hashem, we did a really great job on this Rosh Hashanah. We're doing a great job today on Tzom Gedalia, the fast of Gedalia, and may we speedily first see the release of the hostages in Gaza. We see the teshuvah from the Jewish people, opening our hearts and minds again to the Torah and the mitzvos to connect us closer and closer to Hashem. And may we speedily hear the shofar gadol, the great shofar, signaling to us that the days of Mashiach have been begun. I hope you enjoyed it, and I hope to see you back again soon on Sweet and Good Torah.